My name is Claire Bennett. And the moment I heard the front door creak open after weeks of silence, my whole world shifted in a single breath. Everything inside me had already broken and rebuilt itself while he was gone. I stood there in our small kitchen in Orlando, Florida, arms crossed, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. No tears fell from my eyes this time. No desperate words left my lips. I was no longer the woman who waited in the dark, hoping he would come back and fix what felt shattered. The house smelled of fresh paint and clean linen instead of the chaos of sleepless nights. Our daughter Emma slept peacefully in her crib by the sunny window, her little chest rising and falling with calm breaths. And when Derek stepped inside, suitcase dropping from his fingers with a heavy thud, his face went pale as if someone had punched the air out of him. He stared at the neatly packed boxes lining the hallway. He looked at me like I was a stranger wearing his wife's face. "No," he whispered, voice cracking in the quiet afternoon light. "This can't be how it ends." But it already had. To understand how I got here, you have to go back further than that single shocking moment. You have to go back to the raw, exhausting weeks right after Emma was born, when my body still felt like a battlefield and my heart was learning how to beat in a brand new rhythm of motherhood. The pain from delivery lingered in my hips and back like a constant reminder. I hadn't slept more than a couple of hours at a stretch in what felt like forever. Every night blurred into the next with feedings, rocking, and quiet tears I hid from everyone. Money was tight too. Derek's job as a sales manager brought in enough to cover the mortgage on our modest 3-bedroom home in Orlando, but the hospital bills kept piling up like unwanted guests. I worried constantly about diapers running out before the next paycheck. Stress sat heavy on my shoulders alongside the weight of new motherhood. Derek had always been the fun one in our relationship, the guy who made me laugh until my sides hurt during our dating years. We met at a local music festival here in Orlando 5 years ago. He swept me off my feet with his easy smile and big dreams of traveling the world someday. I fell hard for that charm. But after marriage and the surprise pregnancy, those dreams started feeling like distant echoes. The night everything cracked open started on a humid Thursday evening. Emma was only 3 weeks old. I was pacing the living room with her fussing against my shoulder, my hair a mess, my eyes burning from lack of rest. Derek sat on the couch staring at his phone instead of helping. The TV played some show neither of us was watching. Finally, he looked up, his expression distant and tired. "Claire, I can't do this anymore," he said softly at first. The words hung in the air like smoke. I stopped pacing, heart sinking. "What do you mean?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper so I wouldn't wake Emma again. He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding my eyes. "I feel trapped. The crying, the constant need, the way our life just stopped. I need to get away for a bit. Clear my head. The guys from work are planning a trip to Europe. Spain first, then maybe Italy. I think I should go with them." I stared at him in disbelief. My body still ached from giving birth. My breasts were sore from nursing. And he wanted to fly across the ocean? "You're serious?" I said, feeling a wave of heat rise in my chest. "Emma is 3 weeks old, Derek. I can barely stand up straight some days. We barely have money for groceries this month, and you're talking about Europe?" He stood up, defensive now. "It's not about fun, Claire. It's about my mental health. I feel like I'm drowning here. All we do is argue about who's more tired. I need space to figure out who I am again before I start resenting you and the baby." His words cut deep, like a knife twisting slowly. I felt the sting of betrayal mix with the exhaustion already weighing me down. Tears welled up, but I blinked them back. "I just had our daughter," I whispered, holding Emma closer. "I need you here. We promised to do this together." He shook his head, already pulling away emotionally. "The flights are cheap if I book now. I'll only be gone a month. My mom can check in on you. You'll be fine." A month. The word echoed in my mind like a door slamming shut. I begged him to wait, to delay even a week so we could find a better way. But his mind was made up. 3 days later, he packed a small bag while I sat on the edge of our bed, Emma nursing quietly. He kissed her forehead gently, then turned to me. "I love you both," he said, forcing a smile. "I'll call every day. This will make me a better husband when I get back. You'll see." I wanted to believe him. But as his rideshare pulled away from our driveway in the warm Orlando evening, something deep inside me fractured, not with loud sobs, but with a quiet, cold clarity. If life got too heavy, Derek ran. He didn't stay and fight beside me. The first night alone hit like a storm. Emma cried endlessly around midnight, her tiny body tense with colic pain. I walked the halls of our house for hours, singing lullabies through my own tears. My phone stayed silent. No goodnight text from Derek, just a single photo the next morning from a sunny Spanish beach, waves crashing in the background. "Beautiful here. Hope you're getting some rest," it read. I stared at it while milk leaked through my shirt and Emma finally dozed on my chest. Rest? I hadn't eaten a proper meal in days. Bills were due. Loneliness wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. Days melted into one another in a fog of survival, feeding every 2 hours, changing diapers with shaking hands, trying to keep the house from falling apart while my body healed slowly. Money worries kept me awake too. I stretched every dollar, skipping my own lunches so Emma had what she needed. On the 4th day, Derek's mother, Linda, stopped by unannounced. She breezed into the living room with her usual polished look, perfume filling the space. "Claire, honey, you look exhausted," she said, glancing around at the scattered baby clothes. Derek always needed his freedom. You can't hold him too tight or he'll pull away. Her words landed like salt in an open wound. I bit my lip to stay quiet. She stayed only 20 minutes, offering vague advice about letting him breathe, before leaving with a promise to call later. Alone again, I felt a new kind of anger rise. Not hot rage, but a steady resolve forming in my tired heart. That same evening, as I sat on the front porch steps trying to catch my breath, a kind voice broke through my fog. "You okay, sweetheart? You look like the weight of the world is on those shoulders." It was Mrs. Evelyn Carter, our elderly neighbor from 2 doors down. She was a retired teacher who had lived in Orlando her whole life, wise eyes behind simple glasses. Before I could answer, she gently took Emma from my arms. "Go inside and take a hot shower. I'll watch her for a bit." I hesitated, but the kindness in her voice pulled me in. When I returned cleaner and slightly steadier, she had warmed up some soup from her own kitchen. We sat at the table while Emma slept soundly. "You're stronger than you think, Claire," Evelyn said softly. "But strength doesn't mean doing it all alone. Start making a plan for you and this little one. Track everything. Protect your peace." Her words planted a seed. That night, I opened an old notebook and began writing dates, expenses, messages from Derek that showed his distance. For the first time, I stopped pouring my pain into endless texts begging him to care. I started building something solid beneath my feet. I joined a local moms group here in Orlando, meeting other women facing similar struggles with postpartum life and absent partners. We shared stories over coffee at a park near Lake Eola. Their honesty gave me courage. Slowly, I opened a separate savings account with what little I could set aside each week. I spoke with a family counselor over the phone, learning about my rights and options without rushing into anything drastic. The house began to feel like mine again. I rearranged the nursery with soft colors that soothed both me and Emma. I took short walks with the stroller, feeling the Florida sun warm my skin and lift my spirits just a little. One quiet afternoon, I packed away some of our old couple photos from the mantle, not in anger, but to make room for new memories I would create with my daughter. Derek's messages grew fewer as the weeks passed. He sent pictures of European landmarks, captions full of "missing you" that felt hollow now. I replied briefly, focusing on facts about Emma's growth rather than my heartbreak. Inside, a transformation was happening. The lonely, desperate woman who once orbited around his approval was fading. In her place grew someone steadier, someone learning to stand on her own. Money stress eased slightly as I took on small freelance graphic design work from home, using skills from my old job before maternity leave. It wasn't much, but it gave me a sense of control I hadn't felt in months. Emma's smiles started coming more often, like little rewards for our quiet battles together. By the time Derek texted that he had booked his return flight, I had already made decisions that would change everything. I didn't panic. I didn't beg. Instead, I prepared our home with calm purpose. Boxes of his belongings sat neatly labeled along the wall. Important papers were organized on the dining table. The living room felt open and fresh, sunlight pouring through clean windows. When his rideshare pulled up on that bright Tuesday afternoon, my heart raced, but my hands stayed steady. Derek walked through the door, tanned and carrying the faint scent of foreign air. His eyes widened as he took in the changes, the organized space, the absence of his usual clutter, and me, standing tall in a way he had never seen before. "Claire," he said, voice uncertain. The suitcase slipped from his grip. He stared at the boxes, then at the stack of documents on the table. Financial records, printed messages, notes from my counselor outlining steps for healthy co-parenting if needed. A simple letter I had written myself, expressing the pain of his absence without accusation. No, he muttered, picking up the handwritten note with trembling fingers. "You left when we needed you most," it began. "I had to find my strength without you." He looked up at me, eyes filled with shock and regret. "This isn't what I wanted. I thought a break would help us." I met his gaze without flinching. "A break for you meant leaving me to carry everything alone, Derek. The pain, the fear, the bills, the sleepless nights. I almost broke, but I didn't." He stepped closer, voice breaking. "I called. I sent pictures. I didn't know it was this hard for you. You knew enough," I said quietly. "You chose to stay away." Silence filled the room except for Emma's soft breathing from her crib. Derek moved toward her slowly, as if afraid she wouldn't recognize him. "She's grown so much," he whispered, tears starting to fall. "That's what happens in a month," I replied. "Life moves forward even when you try to pause it." He sank into a chair, head in his hands. "I was scared, Claire. Fatherhood hit me harder than I expected. The responsibility felt suffocating. I thought running would make it easier to come back stronger. His confession hung between us. For the first time, he wasn't hiding behind excuses. I felt a mix of sadness and unexpected pity. But pity wasn't enough to erase the loneliness I had endured. I can't go back to how things were, I told him. If you want to be part of this family, it has to be different. Real effort. No more running when it gets tough. Therapy for both of us. Shared responsibilities, and space for me to keep growing too. He nodded slowly, wiping his face. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't want to lose you or Emma. That first night back was long and heavy with unspoken words. Derek slept on the couch. I lay in bed listening to every sound in the house. When Emma woke at 2 a.m. with a hungry cry, I waited. Footsteps in the hallway. Derek's hesitant voice trying to soothe her. The sound of a bottle being prepared. Her cries quieting under his awkward but sincere attempts. Tears slipped down my cheeks in the darkness. Not from pain this time, but from a fragile new hope. The following days brought more honest conversations than we had shared in years. We sat at the kitchen table late one evening after Emma was asleep. Derek opened up about his own fears. How his father's absence in his childhood made him terrified of failing as a dad. How the pressure of providing financially while feeling emotionally lost had pushed him to escape. I shared my side too. The deep loneliness that made me question my worth. The money worries that kept me up at night. The way motherhood stripped away my old identity and forced me to rebuild from scratch. We argued sometimes, voices rising with old hurts. But we listened too. Real listening, without defensiveness. I suggested we attend couples counseling together at a local center in Orlando. To my surprise, he agreed without hesitation. Weeks turned into a new rhythm. Derek took on night feedings twice a week so I could sleep. He helped with laundry and grocery runs without being asked. Money talks became open and joint. We created a budget that accounted for the remaining hospital bills and future needs. He even reached out to his mother, setting gentle boundaries about her comments on our family. One afternoon, while I was working on a freelance project at the dining table, Derek brought me a cup of tea. "Claire, I see now how much I missed," he said softly. "Not just with Emma, but with you. You became this incredible mother while I was hiding. I'm sorry I made you do it alone." His words touched something deep. The wall around my heart cracked a little more. But forgiveness wasn't instant. It came in small moments. The way he rocked Emma to sleep while humming an old song from our dating days. The quiet pride in his eyes when she smiled at him for the first time since his return. The night he surprised me with a simple date at home, just takeout from our favorite Orlando spot, and a movie on the couch after Emma was down. Trust rebuilt slowly, like layers of paint on an old wall. Not perfect, but stronger with each careful stroke. There were setbacks too. One evening, old frustrations boiled over during a therapy session. Derek admitted he still felt occasional urges to escape when stress mounted. I confessed my lingering fear that he might leave again, but facing those truths together felt different now. We left the session holding hands, determined to keep choosing each other. Emma turned 4 months old on a warm Saturday. We celebrated with a small picnic at a park near our home. Derek pushed the stroller while I carried the basket. Sunlight filtered through the trees as we spread out a blanket. For the first time in months, laughter came easily between us. Emma cooed happily, reaching for her father's finger. As we watched her, Derek turned to me. "I almost lost the best parts of my life because I was afraid," he said. "You showed me what real strength looks like, Claire. Not running away, but staying and growing through the pain." I squeezed his hand. "We both grew," I replied. "Me into someone who knows her worth. You into someone who chooses to stay." That evening, as the sun set over Orlando, I felt a profound peace settle in my chest. The woman who once felt abandoned had discovered her own power. The man who once fled had learned the courage of staying. Our family wasn't perfect. Scars from those hard weeks remained, but they had become part of a story of redemption and quiet transformation. Loneliness had taught me resilience. Betrayal had forced me to find my voice. Hope had returned, not as a fragile wish, but as a steady flame built on real effort. Regret lingered for both of us, but it no longer defined us. Instead, it pushed us forward. If you have ever felt the weight of carrying a relationship or family mostly alone, know that you are not weak for struggling. You are human. And sometimes the hardest moments reveal the deepest strength inside you. Change is possible when both people choose honesty over easy escapes. Love isn't about never failing. It's about how you rise together after the fall. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories.